Who's going to play the next Bond? Will it be Daniel Craig, Idris Elba, or this Singaporean with expensive taste? That's right, we're talking about the worst Bond story ever. It stars fat men and map, and the villains work by making everyone fall asleep. Let's call it Casino Central. This is Arjuna Mahendra. He's Sri Lanka's central banker. He's been in the news a lot over the past few years for some bond issues that have been as scandalous as they are confusing. It's a bit like someone stealing your lunch money using calculus. We'll try to explain. Let's start someplace James Bond will be comfortable, a casino. Okay, we can't get in the casino, but we got the chips. These are government bonds, for the sake of our video at least. They're basically just an IOU. So how do you get one of these? Well, let's say this is a 100 rupee bond. I go to the central bank, I give them 100 rupees, and they hold on to it for 10 years. Then I get to keep this as sort of a receipt. Now that's a crappy game, just keeping your money under a cup for 10 years. The way they make it interesting is by giving you a sort of interest. Let's say 10%. That means each year I get 10 rupees in cash. At the end, I get my 100 rupees back, plus all of my interest, which means I can now buy a buff packet. It's obviously more complicated than that, and they deal in the billions of rupees, but this is basically what a bond is. The cool thing is that you can take this thing outside and trade it on the street, and that's where you make the real money. So let's play a round of the bond game. Today's players are Pussy Galore, that's actually her Christian name, and Jaws, whose name is actually La Santa. So players, today what we're playing for is 2 bonds, each worth 100 rupees. So now the players place their bids, because it's competitive. So blah, blah. Okay, now their bids come together. I just take the 2 highest ones, I give them their bonds. That's how the game is usually played. Now let's get to the fun part. How do you cheat? So let's run the same game again. So hey guys, I got 2 bonds for sale. But this time I whisper something to Pussy. Hey Pussy, I'm actually selling 10 bonds. So they place their bids, but Pussy has some inside information. So you can see she's placing a lot of low bids. Now what happens at the end is I'm like, oh, guess what guys? I'm actually offering 10 bonds. So Pussy gets a bunch of bonds at a really good price for her. That's how you can game the system. That's kind of what happened last year. The central bank advertised 1 billion and they took 10 billion. Now that's not actually illegal and sometimes common, but it was weird that one player, Perpetual Treasuries, got 50% of those and at a really cheap price. They paid as little as 90 rupees for bonds that were trading for 121 rupees like the same day. Oh, and Perpetual Treasuries is owned by Arjuna Mahendra's son-in-law. I'm not actually peeing. So this was a scandal, but a lot more boring than like a sex scandal or your usual corruption. Then there was an election and people kind of forgot. Until it happened again. That's right, there was a second edition of Sri Lankan bond, this time called Diamonds Are Perpetual. On March 24th of this year, the central bank advertised for 40 billion in bonds, but they accepted 80. They also took them at a really crappy price. Just look at this graph. That huge dip is where we sold, and then the prices went right back up the next day. What that means is someone made a killing. And that's not all. The central bank can make prices move with just a press release. On March 30th, they released something saying that they were going to raise 400 billion rupees internationally. That made bond prices go up. Which makes you wonder, why didn't they just wait 2 days and get these bonds at a good price? Instead, a few companies got them really low, sold them really high, and they made a killing. Meanwhile, the country is stuck with these shitty debts for years. In a sort of sorry, not sorry, the central bank said they didn't do anything wrong, but they were going to change. Some of the specific changes they said was they're going to be more transparent about information, including the amount of stuff actually for sale, and they're going to let the EPF bid directly again, instead of getting screwed on the secondary market. For a lot of people, sorry not sorry is not enough. They want the government to not renew Arjuna Mahendra's term on June 30th and install someone less controversial. What should you think? I honestly don't know. I'm actually surprised you watched this far. I just hope this gives you some information you can use to process the news a bit better. And me personally, I think the next Bond should definitely be Idris Elba or Angelina Jolie.